Picture the classic Hollywood expedition, an intrepid explorer hacking his way through a dense, humid jungle until the canopy suddenly parts to reveal the sprawling stone ruins of a lost civilization. That image is largely thanks to American historian Hiram Bingham. In 1911, Bingham stood in front of cameras, dressed in textbook expedition gear, and declared he had found the legendary lost city of the Incas. It was a claim the public eagerly accepted. When Bingham arrived, the massive stone complexes were almost entirely swallowed by centuries of aggressive jungle growth, giving the perfect illusion of a forgotten world. 9 years before Bingham set foot on the mountain, a Peruvian explorer named Agustin Lizarraga had already cleared the undergrowth, leaving his name and the date, 1902, written in charcoal on the wall of a central temple. Bingham was also wrong about what he had found. He was actually searching for Vilcabamba, the last stronghold of the Neo-Inca state. Modern historical evidence strongly suggests the ruins he stumbled upon were known by locals simply as Huayna Picchu. Clinging to this romantic tale of a mysterious hidden refuge obscures what archaeology tells us. To understand the true scale of what was built here, we have to discard the myth of the lost city entirely. The site sits perched on a narrow mountain ridge at nearly 8,000 feet, flanked by vertical cliffs that plunge down to the Urubamba River below. In 1420, Emperor Pachacuti commissioned the construction of a seasonal royal estate, a mountain retreat where the elite could escape the colder climate of Cusco. Placing a massive stone estate on a steep ridge in a seismically active region sounds like a terrible engineering decision. Yet the Inca intentionally built directly over a network of earthquake fault lines. Those tectonic fractures did the heavy lifting for the builders. The fault lines created an abundant, on-site quarry of pre-fractured granite. This allowed engineers to shape blocks that fit together so tightly without mortar that they absorb seismic shocks without collapsing. Earthquakes were only half the battle. This environment receives over 70 inches of torrential rain every year, creating a severe risk of catastrophic landslides that could easily wash an entire city off the cliff. These stepped levels function as sophisticated environmental stabilization systems. Beneath the surface, the Inca packed each tier with deep layers of gravel, sand, and topsoil, specifically to manage the mountain's hydrology. These layers work like a massive sponge and filtration network. They capture the heavy rainfall and safely channel the excess water down through the bedrock, preventing pressure from building up and blowing out the slope. This hidden drainage infrastructure covers nearly 12 acres. It hugs the contours of the mountain, locking the soil in place to support the weight of the urban center above. The Inca analyzed a hostile, fragile landscape and turned its greatest geological liabilities into the very materials and structures that let the city survive. Keeping a royal estate running required a permanent workforce. While the emperor only visited seasonally, an estimated 750 support staff, known as yanaconas, lived on this ridge year-round. Recent genome-wide studies on skeletal remains recovered from the burial caves show these workers came from all over. They were a diverse population of immigrants brought in from the distant coastlines and the Amazon basin. Feeding them required constant supply lines. The 12 acres of terraces couldn't produce enough food to sustain that many people, so their diet relied heavily on imported maize and fish carried up from the valleys. They even imported their livestock. The bone fragments found on site belong mostly to llamas and alpacas, animals that naturally live thousands of feet higher up in the Andes and had to be herded down to the estate for meat and ritual sacrifices. To maintain this single retreat, the Inca utilized a continent-spanning network of roads and suspension bridges to continuously funnel goods, crops, and laborers up into the clouds. This remote estate functioned as a bustling cosmopolitan hub, mobilizing a massive logistical network to support its diverse inhabitants. That complex system collapsed quickly. The estate was used for only about 80 years before being completely abandoned in the mid-16th century, right around the time the wider Inca Empire fell to the Spanish. The Spanish conquistadors likely never even set foot on the mountain. Instead, the diseases they brought to the continent, like smallpox, outpaced their armies and decimated the estate's population from afar. When Hiram Bingham arrived centuries later and promoted his tale of an unowned city, it set a dangerous precedent. Over 3 expeditions, his team systematically packed up thousands of artifacts, from human remains to intricate bronze and ceramic vessels, and shipped them to the United States. By framing the site as a forgotten ruin waiting to be discovered by the West, early explorers gave themselves the moral cover to extract its cultural heritage and lock it away in the vaults of Yale University for nearly a century. That specific historical wrong was finally corrected. Following years of intense legal disputes, Yale returned the last of the artifacts to Peru in 2012, allowing the ceramics and silver to be displayed in Cusco. But the romance of the explorer myth has fueled a new crisis. Today, the site faces an existential threat from global over-tourism, drawing over 1.5 million visitors a year who crowd onto the ancient paths. That volume of foot traffic puts an unnatural strain on the fragile terraces and drainage networks the Inca engineers so carefully packed together, threatening to erode the very foundations holding the mountain up. To ensure the estate survives another 600 years, we have to let go of the idea that it is a lost city waiting to be explored, and respect it for what it actually is, a masterpiece of environmental engineering pushed to the absolute limit.